Hi, my name is Gautam Swaminathan and I'm a junior in the Engineering Academy.
My name is Sean Tyagarajan and I'm also a junior in the Engineering Academy.
And today we will be presenting a further oral activity on the sexualization and objectification of women in modern controversial advertisements. In order to provide some context as to the slow progression in the use of women as sexual objects in controversial advertisements, we'll first need to examine the history of using women in advertisements. Beginning in the Victorian era, women were mainly included in advertisements to catch the eye of passerbys. They weren't necessarily portrayed in a sexual light because the boundaries of sexuality were much larger than they are now. As a result, many women were not portrayed in explicit outfits. Instead, women were just used to catch the eyes of men and women who happened to pass by and view these advertisements. As a result, women were essentially used as a vehicle towards the product rather than being the subject of the advertisement itself. Leading up to the Roaring Twenties, advertisements including women slowly began portraying them in a more sexual light. For example, many women were portrayed as wearing less clothing than before, and many advertisements included sexual connotations to entice the men and women viewing these advertisements. As a result, women slowly became of equal importance to the advertisement as the products being advertised, and for the viewers, women became the main subject of the advertisement rather than the product being advertised.
Nowadays, these advertisements objectifying or sexualizing women, such as this one here, have become very common in society. So as you can see, this progression from the Victorian era, when women were basically used as a vehicle to promote the product, leading up to the Roaring Twenties when they became of almost equal importance to the product in the ad. And now, nowadays, women are actually probably more important than the product themselves because they've basically become the subject of the ad in order to catch the eyes of the viewers. The goal of our further oral activity is to examine the extent to which controversial and sexual advertisements help to promote the products being advertised, but also at what point does the advertisement become too controversial because of the sexual connotation being too much, such that it takes away from the actual advertisement of the product and makes the advertisement ineffective in that it is promoting the women but rather excluding the promotion of the product. After examination of modern advertisements that sexualize and objectify women, we decided to pick two different advertisements, which are shown right here, that both vary in effectiveness but do not really vary in terms of their objectification and their sexual connotations of women. So to provide like a brief outline of what our further oral activity actually is, we first started off with providing a history in terms of how women used to be used in advertisements and how it has progressed to the point where women have almost become the product themselves. And then we're going to show you the two ads and then show student reactions to these ads. And then after that, we will be providing our analysis on these reactions. For your convenience, we have included the timestamps of the different portions of our further oral activity right here.
Our first advertisement, which is shown here, is an advertisement for Burger King advertising their new sandwich known as the BK Super 7-incher. The reason why we chose this advertisement is the fact that it uses very clear sexual connotations to advertise the product. For example, the use of the caption, "It'll blow your mind away," and sexual words such as thick and hearty A1 steak sauce is very clearly used to provide sexual connotations to the advertisement and may be used as a vehicle to actually advertise the product. Now, this advertisement is also used to contrast the second advertisement that we will be using, since this advertisement still shows the product being advertised and provides some brief description of the ingredients used in this sandwich. However, it is still important to note that the sandwich is not the main focus of the ad. As you can see, the woman takes up a very large portion of the ad, and she becomes the main subject of the advertisement. Our second advertisement, shown here, is an advertisement from a company known as Fast Track for their 20% off sale on watches, bags, and sunglasses. Now, it is very clear from this advertisement that there are no products being shown in the advertisement. Rather, there is just a woman wrapped in sale tape and nothing else. This is a very clear indication that the company used this advertisement as a means to attract viewers solely from the woman rather than the products themselves. This is in complete contrast to the advertisement we showed before, since that advertisement still showed the ingredients of the sandwich as well as a brief description of the sandwich and the product being advertised. However, in this advertisement, the only indication that this is a 20% off sale is the fact that it has the words watches, bags, and sunglasses underneath it. The main subject of this advertisement is the woman, who has nothing to do with the products actually being advertised. The main purpose for using these two advertisements is to show the differences in companies' mindsets and the way companies approach advertising products to their audience. In addition, we chose different types of advertisements to show the varying effectiveness of these advertisements in our further oral analysis.
In order to provide more context for the evidence that we will be using in the analysis portion of our further oral activity, we decided to interview students of our age for their reactions and opinions to these two different advertisements.
The main purpose for including these interviews is to show how effective such advertisements can be when shown to a demographic they may be tailored to. Another important purpose of including these interviews is to show how different genders may react to the advertisements we were showing. This in turn will paint a better picture as to how effective controversial advertisements can be, and also at what point does an advertisement become too controversial and actually take away from the products being advertised.
The general opinion among the girls that we presented this ad to was that it was extremely silly, and they can be found here.
There is a woman and her mouth is wide and it shows her like she's about to eat this burger. But the caption says it'll blow your mind away. So that gives the connotation. It has to do with
a really big sandwich for Burger King. So this really surprised girl is trying to eat a BK Super 7-incher.
It'll blow your mind away.
There is interesting text on it. It says it'll blow your mind away. It has a sexual connotation behind it.
In terms of the ad objectifying women, the girls didn't notice this until the very end of their interview.
Oh, it's an innuendo?
And so the sexual innuendo kind of was an afterthought for them, because most of them focused on what the sandwich looked like, the ingredients in it, and like the price that you would buy it at.
Alright, so this ad is depicting, it's basically advertising a sandwich from Burger King that will supposedly blow your mind away, because it's supposed to be like that good. The Super 7-incher, it's $6.25 with the Coke and fries as a meal. It has A1 thick and hearty steak sauce, and this sandwich will fill your desire for something long, juicy, and flame grilled. So I think that sounds like a good sandwich.
Rather than the women in the ad and this objectification that was quite obviously very apparent to the boys.
A different kind of group in a more of a sexual way, because obviously the way that they're presenting the burger and in the manner that it's like oriented next to the woman is kind of meant to be in like a sexual way. And then they also include like, it just tastes better, it'll blow your mind away, like in all caps, and then like Super 7-incher. So like everything that they're kind of doing is in order to appeal to like that kind of group.
And this kind of shows like this varying level of innocence between boys and girls, because boys are always perceived as more inappropriate than girls, and this kind of was upheld by our interviews, because we saw that the boys reacted almost immediately to this innuendo.
What's that?
Does it physically blow your mind?
This depicts male genitalia.
Okay, I'm gonna make a serious response. Okay.
Whereas the girls took like a couple of minutes before they understood what the joke in the ad actually was, and The girls stated that the advertisement objectified women and made them out to be sex objects.
Like objectifying them, I guess.
Well, I guess it portrays them in a way that they always like need a man.
And the intended humor of the ad was lost, but the ad was somewhat effective because of the way in which it caught the viewer's eyes.
It'll definitely be remembered, so I guess it's effective in that sense. Would I recommend it? No, but I guess like any advertising is good advertising.
It's effective in that it catches your eye and it gets your attention, but it's a little iffy.
But in terms of the ad being funny, many of the girls found it not funny and rather offensive.
In contrast to the BK Super 7-incher advertisement, the Fast Track advertisement received very divisive opinions. From the boys we interviewed, they stated that this advertisement was too controversial to be shown in media.
I would say yes, the combination of the lack of clothing and the body language that this woman is using would make this unacceptable to be shown.
It just says the C word.
Yes, I think this is also a little inappropriate to be shown on media.
Why?
Because once again we have like kids, and you know parents are like not trying to make their kids see things like this.
And largely ineffective because it did not actually show the products being advertised.
I think it's just kind of funny because the picture has no correlation to watches, bags, or sunglasses. And I think it's funny how they included like flat 20% off, and then the image of the woman is just like, it's kind of out of place in a way.
I feel like this is a dumb advertisement because the picture doesn't relate to the advertisement, except for the fact that it says sale, and this is a 20% off thing. So
It's got nothing to do with like what it says. Watches, bags, sunglasses, but it's like a naked woman.
Instead, the only eye-catching factor of the advertisement was a naked woman dressed in only sales tape. The boys also stated that although the advertisement was eye-catching because of the woman, it did not keep them interested because it did not show the products being advertised. In addition, the boys stated that they were not able to judge the quality of the products or what the products actually looked like because they were not even shown in the advertisement. The boys finally stated that this advertisement was more controversial than the Burger King advertisement because it showed women as purely being sex objects. As a result, the advertisement was less effective and more controversial than the first. The girls stated that the second advertisement made by Fast Track was less effective and also less controversial than the advertisement made by Burger King. They stated that because many advertisements nowadays portray women in a very sexual manner, this advertisement is no different. As a result, it cannot be seen as more controversial than many of the advertisements similar to it that are put in place today.
I feel like it just happens a lot, so you're not as affected by it.
Like you see advertisements for like underwear all the time, but for some reason it not being legitimate clothing I guess makes it worse.
I think it'd be shown anyway. Like I don't. There's not like that much controversial.
However, the girls agreed with the boys in the fact that this advertisement was less effective than the first because it did not show the products being advertised.
The picture doesn't relate at all to what it's trying to advertise.
Watches, bags, and sunglasses, but I see none of those in the advertisement.
I think they also could have executed it better. Maybe not a woman and maybe some like watches, bags, or sunglasses because that is what they're selling.
In addition, they stated, similar to the boys, that they were not able to judge the quality or appearance of the products because the only part of the advertisement that was shown is the woman in sale tape and some text that suggests that this advertisement promotes a 20% off sale on watches, bags, and sunglasses. Finally, agreeing with the boys again, the girls stated that although the woman in the advertisement caught their attention at first, it did not hold their attention because it did not show the products that it was advertising. As a result, they deemed the advertisement less effective and less controversial than the first advertisement.
After analyzing the two reactions that the boys and girls had to the two different advertisements that we presented to them, we noticed a trend in the effectiveness of the ad and how controversial it was in terms of the sexual objectification of women in the ad. So in the first ad, the BK 7-incher, the sexual innuendo was quite apparent with the burger and the woman. But because of the way this ad was able to incorporate this innuendo along with the promotion of its product, it ended up being very effective. And even though it was controversial because it was depicting an innuendo that was sexual, and this would have a negative impact on many people because they would believe that this is kind of making women out to be inferior to men. This ad found a way to make it humorous and to appeal the viewer in a way that made them remember the ad. Therefore, after analyzing these reactions from the BK7 Inter ad, we can see that the overall effectiveness of this ad was heightened by the use of the objectification of the woman. And this is because the ad found a way to incorporate both the women and the product, which is the sandwich, in a humorous way that also tied both in to each other and allowed for entertainment rather than the viewer coming out and directly saying that this ad focused too much on the woman and was only used to portray the woman as a sex object.
After analyzing the second advertisement, as well as the interviews we conducted, we found that the Fast Track advertisement was generally regarded as being less effective than the Burger King advertisement. This is because the products that were being advertised in the advertisement were not actually shown in the advertisement itself. Instead, the Fast Track advertisement used a woman wearing nothing but sale tape to spark the interest of the viewer. However, as mentioned by our interviewees, this did not hold their interest because they were not able to see the quality or appearance of the products that were being advertised. Although there was some discrepancy between the reactions of our interviewees, the second advertisement by Fast Track was generally regarded as being controversial because of its clear objectification of women. Although the first advertisement portrayed the woman in a sexual light, it was able to balance out the controversial aspects by still promoting the product and using humor in order to spark the interest of the viewer. In contrast, the second advertisement did not actually show or promote the products being advertised. Instead, it just used the woman to spark the interest of the viewer. However, because there were no products being advertised directly in the advertisement, it did not continue to hold the interest of the reader. As a result, the second advertisement was generally regarded as being less effective than the first advertisement and controversial in its own right.
In conclusion, the goal of our FOA was to examine the extent to which our advertisements objectified women, and at what point does this objectification become too controversial, where the advertisement loses its effectiveness altogether.
This all ties back into our choice of the two advertisements, because both advertisements can be considered controversial in their own right. What sets them apart is how each advertisement is controversial in its own right. Although there were many differing views between the boys and the girls that we interviewed regarding how controversial each advertisement was, one of our interviews stated that each advertisement is controversial in its own right. The Fast Track advertisement was controversial in that it only portrayed a woman in sale tape and nothing else. In contrast, the interviewee stated that the Burger King advertisement was more controversial because of its language. For example, the advertisement included a caption that stated, "It'll blow your mind away." In addition, it used adjectives like thick and hearty to describe the products.
Visually, it's more controversial because it shows a woman in not too much clothing, but meaning-wise, it's less controversial. In what they don't explicitly show. This advertisement is less controversial than the Burger King one because the Burger King one had more of a suggestive meaning.
In addition, the Fast Track advertisement did not include any words that really described the products as advertisement. In addition, the boys that we interviewed found that the words like flat, 20% off sale, may have pertained to the woman in the advertisement.
In both the advertisements, the use of language is very important when determining what the focus or center of the ad is. So as we can see in the first advertisement, words such as blow and thick and hearty, these are all pertaining to the sandwich rather than the woman. So it clearly shows us that the sandwich is at least equally as important to the ad as the woman, if not more. In the second advertisement, we see words such as flat, 20% off, and the word sale on the woman. These all show that the woman is the center of this advertisement, with a disregard for the product that is actually being advertised in the advertisement. And this also contributes to the effectiveness and controversial aspects of this ad, because by making the woman the focus of the ad in the second advertisement, this disregards the product, which makes the ad much less effective than the first one. And it also makes it much more controversial because it's objectifying the woman by applying words such as sale and flat to her. The first advertisement does a better job of showing the woman going hand in hand with the product, because all the adjectives that have sexual connotations are describing the sandwich rather than the woman.
In conclusion, although both advertisements could be considered controversial in their own right, which aspects of the advertisements are controversial really depends on which demographic is viewing the advertisement. Regardless, what makes an advertisement truly effective is that the advertisement and its language focus on the product rather than the other aspects of the advertisement. This is our further oral activity. Thank you for your attention.